Order, please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Let's start the meeting with the roll call. Mayor Lindsay. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Howe.
Here.
Councilor Weeks. Councilor Hubbard.
Here.
And Councilor Crane.
Here.
We have a quorum. We may proceed.
If I could please get a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with one change, and that's to move item H, which is approve issuance of RFP for professional FAA airport transfer consultant services up to the second item after item A, making it the new item B.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if I could get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Requests and responses from the audience, not pertaining to this agenda. I believe Trini Bradley had signed up.
What do you want, me to?
Right at the podium.
Oh, okay. I'm with the Veterans Wellness Board, okay? We had a race about several weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had 67 racers out at the airport. That airport has brought us in so much. We made a profit of 12K, and without the village letting me do this for them, the Veterans Wellness, it touched my heart. So with Mr. Howe's help, could you come over here with BJ, please? Get your picture. There you go. I was really, really touched.
I'd like to add to what Trini just said. It made it so much easier to do that race. We couldn't have done it anywhere else. And we always appreciate the fact that we have the ladder truck with the flag. So Chief, thank you.
Thanks, Trini. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you, Trini. I believe that's everybody we have signed up.
That is
This evening.
everyone.
So we'll be moving on to announcements and proclamations by council. This evening. Right from there, we'll move on to staff reports. Commissioner Lee, would you like to start?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Manager Mayor.
So when the mayor first approached me about becoming the village manager, one of the things that we agreed on right away was the importance of investing in our staff. And he and the council have supported that investment through our budget. And we're starting to see some results with that investment. And I wanted to recognize from the finance department tonight, both our manager and one of our GL accountants, our manager, Ms. Heather McPeak, and our GL accountant, Audrey Cordova, have both not only received their certified procurement officer certificates, but they've also both qualified and completed the certified public financial professional from the New Mexico Municipal League. So we have, oops, that one's upside down. I have these plaques, if Audrey and Heather, if you could come up here and receive your plaques, please. And, even though, you know, the village is gonna benefit ladies, where are you going? The village is gonna benefit greatly from this education. I mean, there's a lot of things that are important to government, that you have to know. It's different than being an accountant for a corporation, even a co-op. I think Audrey, who used to work for the Kit Carson, will attest that our accounting procedures are very different. And so taking these classes and being dedicated to this education, I think the personal time out, I know, you know, you get paid to some extent, but you don't get paid for being away from home, especially when you have children at home. So to show our appreciation for this, you might want to set those down here because I also have a task here for each of you that will give you a 1 grade, 1 level bump in your pay. And I'd like you to sign those pads for me, if you don't mind.
You gotta double.
In your budget, right?
And by doing this publicly, not only do I want to show appreciation to our staff, but I want it to be known and incent staff to seek out education and seek out certifications. And I can promise you that one way or another, we'll make sure you get awarded for it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Right. Thank you. Vance?
Mayor Lindsay, members of the council, Manager Weir, good evening, how y'all doing? The fire department this month ran 29 calls, 23 of which were EMS calls, 6 of which were fire calls, mostly smoke checks and fire alarm activations and so forth. We've been pretty busy. We should have filed today. I think we got that application for the YCC grant successfully submitted today. We are also moving forward with a purchase of a 3,000 gallon tender with a 1250 GPM pump. I think it'll help us as far as our ISO ratings, and we're really focusing hard on anything that we can do to help our ISO ratings. Today we met with an architect from DG Design Group for the design of Fire Station 1. Spent a few hours giving them all of our design parameters and are hoping to have some feedback from them pretty soon. They gave us a schedule of how long it should take to design that fire station. We're thinking along the lines of 6 months or so. But we got off to a good start today. Wildland and Slash have been really busy. After the end of October 1st, we're no longer taking Slash over at the yards. But they just started working with the help of Kurt Epler. He transferred 2 vehicles, a front end loader and a skid steer loader over to our department to help us mitigate some of the slash. We're gonna start working on some of the backlog that has been building up for 20 years, as I understand it. And they already got started on that, clearing out some area for that. Our last run, we had about 1,474 cubic yards of slash that was picked up in the community. And that was kind of the last run until the spring. We also hired 1 PRN, additional wildland, employee to help support that, and a full-time, slash person, and they started today. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Oh, great. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Manager, guest. I believe he's passing out the September 2024 monthly recap. As you'll see, calls for service for September as compared to the right column of August. Total calls for service were 144 for the police department. Incidents, call for service reports, went down to 55 from 75, so I always like to see a trend in that direction. Warrants generated were 3 as compared to 5 for August. 1 arrest and 1 cleared, so 2 as compared to 3 for August. Crash reports remained the same at 4. Traffic citations increased to 24, up from 13. And non-traffic citations remained about the same, 5 down from 6 in August. Some other points to bring up: Officer James Hott and Officer Richard Sanchez, our 2 new certified officers that we've hired recently, have completed their orientation and training, and they are both doing great and are now on shift for coverage here in the valley. The LPR, which is the license plate readers, installation began last week, and please bear in mind I prepared this last week, so that would be 2 years ago. And I put on here that they should be online in the next 2 to 4 weeks. I'm happy to report that those actually went live today, so we were a little bit ahead of schedule on having 3 of those online now. Actually got in and played with it a little bit today. You can search by specifics of a vehicle license plate or by general descriptors, decals and windows and things like that. I searched for myself, my patrol vehicle, and the footage is fantastic. So I'm very happy for that. This is a crime fighting tool. If we have a report of a vehicle that's fleeing a scene or any kind of a criminal aspect, the LPR will capture that. We put in the search perimeters and it will give us that feedback of what camera picked it up and at what time and what direction of travel. It also gives us the ability to focus in and share our data as well as receive data. If we put a hot list together and say we're looking for this vehicle to any surrounding agencies that's participating with Flock, and like the town of Taos, the Taos Sheriff's Office, there's a few others in our immediate area that have these, so we can share that data and resources with them and vice versa. So this is a really good thing. I can't remember, there's 250,000+ of these across the US, and that number literally grows every day. Now some not so good news. DOT has initially denied our ROHV permit for use of ROVs on Highway 434. We've asked for a meeting to discuss the site plan that will hopefully satisfy their concerns that there are not roadways or forest access that tie into the 434 within the village. I think they kind of there's a misunderstanding as to actually what we're trying to accomplish, and that's give lawful access to Forest Road 76, just south of Angel Fire. I've talked to Veronica on the phone. I have not got an answer back when we will be able to meet and do a drive-through of our proposal for that. They based their decision essentially off of the map that I provided to them, which I thought would have answered the questions, but we've run into a hiccup, but we are not done with that yet. Work on the radio and repeater relocation from Iron Mountain, north of Eagle Nest, to Aspen Water Tank, here on the west side of the village, began last week. The building is set. We're hoping to have that accomplished by the end of this month. That will greatly improve the radio handheld communications for the police department, for the village fire department, and for the Moreno Valley District 5 Fire Department, as well as give Kurt and his crew, which peripherally, I argue, are public safety as well, will give them radio communications through a repeater system as well. So we're making progress on that, and I'm very happy about that. The chaplains group completed their crime victim and advocacy training and are now available to us on a rotating basis, 7 days a week, to assist victims and with mental health counseling resources here in our valley. Prior to this, and I think I spoke of this last month, our nearest advocate was out of Raton. There was no resources here in the valley. There are advocates out of Taos, but they work with those courts over there. could have been a resource for us, but we chose to go this direction. It's been great working with them and developing that partnership. And I'm happy to report that late last week, they had their first call out and were a tremendous resource to help an individual in need. So I'm very happy, to have that established and going in the right direction. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
I have one question. What does it mean under arrest when it says one cleared?
That means that there was one new arrest and one arrest from a warrant.
Okay.
So two, essentially, is what that means.
All right.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else? All right, thank you. Stepler?
I guess, well, good evening, council, mayor, engineer, Lyra. To follow in Brett's footsteps, I actually want to recognize a couple of my staff members that, decided to come to council tonight. I've got, Jack Crandall, who just recently started with us a couple of weeks ago, and Nathan Gopium. They've been getting quite a lot done now with, a few unexpected challenges. Our field supervisor, Evan Archuleta, had a family tragedy that has kept him out for a few weeks. And, yet the team has pulled together and accomplished a lot of great things. To put it in perspective, in just the last few weeks, they fixed water leaks that have been ongoing for anywhere from 2 to our longest running one, 8 years. Leaks that were, that have been ongoing for quite some time. Today, they just replaced the second of 2 hydrants. The one they replaced today has been leaking since earlier in the summer, and the one they replaced last week has been leaking for a few years. And fully repaired and fully fixed, and also installing our remaining stock of water meter cans in the process. We're due to get some more meter cans in on Friday, and they're gonna get back on it. Wanted to thank them for coming tonight, thank them for all that they've done. And if y'all ever get a chance to meet these fine gentlemen, I recommend you do it. They're really passionate about keeping our water system going, making things better. And they work pretty hard under some pretty harsh conditions. I'm very, very grateful to have them. Next, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on what Chief Vance said as far as transfer of assets from Public Works over to Slash. It's kind of been an initiative since I've started to identify what assets that we have that are being underutilized and see if there's opportunity to put them in a place they can be better used. In giving it time to let it all kind of unfold and get a clear picture of how assets are being used, and discovering that some were not being used at all, and identifying basic needs in other areas where they could definitely be put to use. We have transferred the assets from streets to Slash, from solid waste to Slash, from streets to water. I myself was the recipient of a transfer of an asset from police department, which allowed me to get a much needed truck to a water department. And, you know, the goal is we've got some wonderful equipment and some great assets. It's just really tough to see it sitting. And want to keep moving forward with that. We have a couple of other options we're looking into that I feel can benefit some other departments, and moving forward with that. So I guess the next update would be a bit of bad news I have to give tonight. After speaking with GM Emulsions, who we have contracted for the paving on South Angel Fire Road, Aspen Street, and Jackson Hole, due to delays in construction for every reason that impacts outdoor construction, from weather to supply chain issues to temperatures getting colder. It looked like our schedule got bumped back to the latter part of October to do those paving projects. And so I have made the determination we are going to have to wait till spring to do those projects. If we push the limits and try to get paving down with less than optimal temperatures. With the challenge of not just the ambient temperatures getting colder, but also the challenge of keeping the hot mix hot, getting it over here from Taos with the delay in the construction zone. We could be setting ourselves up for a bad result. So as tough as it is, we're not going to be able to pave those 3 spots until spring. But I will address the extremely rough area of South Angel Fire Road as you turn in off of 434. Probably I know what we are going to be doing is we're going to be milling up that section. That is just a continuous series of pothole patches. One on top of the other. We're going to mill that up and cover it with compacted base course. And we'll get through the winter with that better than leaving it as it is. It's definitely not ideal. It's circumstances that are out of our control, but I absolutely don't want to risk paving a road that's going to fall apart if we pave too cold, essentially. Does anybody have any questions on that particular subject? Update on other projects on the base course projects. We've now surpassed 12 miles of road that we've placed a new base course on. I would like to ask the council to consider maybe scheduling a meeting next week where we can discuss doing some more change orders and additions to the contract to base course some more roads. We do seem to have a good window of weather for placing base course. We have a lot of trucks available, a lot of product available. More importantly, we still have budget available. And we've got pretty good momentum. I'd like to keep going. So knowing that these additions will need council's approval, I'd like to ask if there's a possibility we could schedule a meeting for next week to discuss change orders of adding some more roads. At this particular time, I'm thinking of roads that I'm considering adding are on the west side of the valley. Don't want to, there's a series of shorter roads, so I don't want to waste too much time with the names, but I will have all those names in detail if we're able to meet next week.
I just wanted to tell you what a great job you've done in a short period of time, the contractors, everybody involved. I know it's been a little bit of a, it's been an inconvenience for a lot of people with all the trucks in the area, the graders and so on and so forth. I hope everybody can be patient and truly enjoy a little bit smoother ride on some of these roads. So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing out there.
Thank you, sir.
Does that conclude staff reports this evening? We'll move on to committee reports. Mary Ann, with our comprehensive plan committee.
Mayor, Councilman, Manager. The comprehensive plan is moving right along with their mission. We have decided to update the 2008 comp plan. As it turns out, it's going to be radically updated. We're going to have address more issues in the community, and we're going to hopefully have a guide for the administrations. As administrations come and go, there will be a guide first set at 5-year priorities and 10-year priorities with an update every 10 years. We have 6 committee members that we have aligned with the action committees that have been set up for the village. Our committee members have chosen the areas of their experience and their interest so that they can attend some meetings, keep up with meeting minutes, that sort of thing. Our monthly meeting, we have monthly meetings, and at each of our meetings, we have reports from each of our committee members, what they've learned about what's going on in the community. And we try to document that in some very accurate meeting minutes so that those can be used by the community to understand what's going on. In addition to that, we use our monthly meetings to establish the format for the final report. We're going to do things a little bit differently than the previous report. We're going to take it not just declaring what's the existing conditions are and projections, but we're actually going to investigate different topics. We're gonna pursue things, related to, the quality of life here, arts, wetlands, things that were not addressed in the 08 report. And we're also going to try to present a more accurate community profile, talk a little bit about our history, how we got here, what the challenges we face that may be unlike other small communities in New Mexico. As far as our coordination with the action committees, we had a meeting at the end of August where we brought together the committee chairs and tried to describe to them what the comp plan was all about. And what we're working on now, I don't know if you've got a little handout from Rocky, we have, want to be able to present information in the plan that's easily identified. We're going to talk about primary challenges within each subject area and a definition of existing conditions, implications to the community if they're not addressed, and recommended actions to correct those issues. And so that's what this little table that I think you might have is all about. In addition to the table format, we're going to have other text input that actually spells out the goals of to respond to the issues in the community, goals, objectives, and implementation. We're also going to look at funding sources. The previous plan had a laundry list in an appendix that just listed where you might be able to get some money. Well, no, we're going to tie possible funding sources to each area of improvement that needs improvement. We're also going to pat ourselves on the back a bit and declare the things that we have accomplished since 2008 and let everybody understand that we have made progress. The action committees are going to be an integral part in setting up this input. So we are going to meet with them on a regular basis. We have our next meeting at the end of October, and the format, instead of us talking to them, we're going to start asking them what they're learning and have them bring that to us, because we feel like there's a lot of overlay in the goals of this community and how we can solve them, maybe put some of those together. So that will be more of an open forum at the end of October. We'll have another coordination meeting in mid-January, and then our last coordination meeting with the committee chairs will be at the end of February, so that by the beginning of March, the committees will have had 6 months to start addressing the issues that they face and be able to share that with the committee. And at that point, we will start working on a draft plan based on that input. We'll start looking at what those priorities are. We're going to set up priorities for all the different areas of interest on a 5-year period, a 10-year period with a renewal every 5 years. That's my overview. Is there any questions that you'd like to ask? Any questions about your little tables we threw out there? These are going to be refined. This is our first shot. In fact, Thursday, a couple of us are going to try to make it really easy to read and provide some instructions to the different action committees on how to fill these things out so that they can really hone in and make it real easy to pick up and follow. And then if you don't have any questions, a little personal aside, I took out my list of action committees with the names of all the people involved, and you have over 60 people in this community working on solutions to the issues that we've got. And I just encourage all of the council, all of the people with the village, if they come forward and they ask for something, for some help, give it to them, because these are professionals. These are people that had work experience that's very valuable, and we want to keep them all moving. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you'd like to give us a little update on the workforce housing committee?
Yes. Good evening, council and mayor. So we've had a few things going on. The first one I wanted to announce is not really anything that the workforce housing committee did, but that the village council did was went ahead and closed on a property this week or last week, to place workforce housing on. So that's a great accomplishment by the village, and I know our committee appreciates it, and I'm sure that many village employees will also appreciate it in the future. So thank you for that. Couple of other items we have going on is, we distributed an employer survey to businesses that have a business license registered with the village. And, we got some preliminary results, and, we felt like we were missing a few of employers that we really wanted to hear from. So some of the, committee members and Jake are reaching out to those businesses to encourage them to go ahead and respond to the employer survey. So we extended that up through next Monday. And, we're hoping that we get, and we did send it out, a friendly reminder to send it out to get employers to, respond to that again. But in the preliminary results, one of the kind of key things I took away from that was that, the employers responded that they have about 52 employees of just, and there was really only 17 employers that replied, that are unable to find local housing. And so, you know, for that small number of employers that responded, you know, that's a pretty good number, for us to kind of do some planning on. And that does, you know, like I said, doesn't include some of the bigger employees. So we'll hopefully, we'll get, you know, some more responses, and then we'll have some final results to share. So that was good. I'm glad we got that done. The next steps is we mentioned before that we were going to also follow up with an employee survey so that we could hear from individuals who are, you know, interested in living in Angel Fire that work here as well. And so that will not be accomplished by sending out emails, because we don't obviously have email addresses for employees. We're going to do a marketing campaign. So once approved for our budget for that, we're going to build a flyer that will have a QR code that an employee can scan and answer the questions. And those flyers will be posted at all the same places that the village posts, like their agendas. And then also we talked about having one sitting in the office here, and then maybe asking a couple of employers if they don't mind putting them in their workplace as well. So that'll be our next steps. I think we have a work session scheduled next week, and so we'll kind of put a timeline to that. So the other items that we have going on is, you know, we put together a governance document draft that really talks about who would be eligible to live in the workforce housing. This is not going to be property that you know, summertime retired fishermen can come live in. It's not for that purpose at all. And so that governance document, I believe, is sitting with legal. Is that correct to review?
That's correct.
Okay, so once we hear back from them, we may have some adjustments, and then we'll bring that forward to the council. You guys have seen it, you know, I think we talked about it last time. And that, anyway, that will address like who we think's gonna be able to do it. And then the other items that we have in progress are, we have the template that Mary Ann mentioned for the comprehensive plan committee, the input from our committee for that. So we've got a draft out to our committee to work on, and then we're going to discuss that at our workforce housing committee, working session next Monday. And then also the committee charter, I think there was a template that we've got sent out to all the committees, and we're just working on that too as well. So those would be a couple documents that we'll bring forward at some point too. And that's it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sure.
Are you gonna talk about the
meeting.
progress on the grant?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
So, there was, I haven't even had time to talk to the committee chair yet. Clerk Lear and I had a meeting yesterday with the group from New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. This is the entity we applied for a grant for. There's a couple of $1 million in a grant for workforce housing for the communities that were affected by the Calf Canyon and Hermit's Peak fire. Our initial submission was denied, needed some cleanup, which we have done. We had a meeting with them yesterday to go through kind of the entirety of it. I think they were very positive about the adjustments we had made. We anticipate hearing back from them in a week or so. That likely won't be with an award, but with any other documents or things that they're looking for. But it was quite positive. I would say there were three individuals from MFA on, myself and Clerk Lyra. So we're hopeful anyways that they might send some money our way. The only complication from that they brought up is some of the funds that are in that account are federal dollars. And if we get some of those monies, apparently there will be a required environmental impact survey on the site that takes some time to complete. This is not a geotechnical survey. This is something the federal government does and requires. Exactly. So if that is the case, and if we're going to get the money, it's something we'll have to be ready to move forward quickly with.
Thank you. While you're running it down, do you have anything to,
So
as far as dark sky or fire adaptive?
sure. So, Dark Sky Committee right now is going through the process. After the rough draft was presented to council at a work session, we're getting some feedback from businesses on how this would impact them. We don't have a work session in progress right now because we've sent lots of requests out to lots of different businesses in town. We're hoping for feedback. So that is where that committee is sitting. Fire Adaptive Committee, as Chief Vance indicated, there is a new person, our ambassador coordinator. I haven't met her yet. I think her first day was yesterday. And so I get the thumbs up. That sounds right. So, we're going to keep moving forward there. The one thing we're looking for, help on is we have some technical forestry questions as we're considering the current draft of the Defensible Space Ordinance that we'd like, some professional input on. So I know Chief Vance is working on, and Captain Romo's as well, trying to find us from New Mexico or US Forestry to help us address these concerns. It's basically, the Ruidoso template that we use, where we have different elevations and different trees and different densities. So making sure that we have obviously lay people on the committee that are not over or under committing. Somebody with a forestry background can help us iron those questions out. So those are my other two committee reports.
Lawrence, did you want to give a committee report on the airport transition committee?
I could wait and answer, I guess, with the resolution.
We'll just move on. They're the first two items on the agenda. So I think that sums up our committee reports this evening. With that, we don't have any old business. We'll move on to new business. Item A, discussion, permission to ratify resolution 2024-69, transfer KAXX Airport to Angel Fire. This item was visited at our council meeting 2 weeks ago, passed the council unanimously. We wanted to bring it back before the public because it was posted physically, but not virtually. And so we wanted to make sure that if there was anybody in the public that had any input or anything to say, or if there was any additional discussion amongst the councilors, we could have that this evening. So with that, is there anybody that would like to address this, either publicly or on the council? If that's the case, I'd ask Mayor Pro Tem to make a motion.
Make a motion for action on permission to ratify resolution 2024-69, transfer KAXX Airport to Angel Fire.
Second.
Do a roll call vote on item A. Roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Howell,
Aye.
Councilor Weeks, Councilor Humbert,
Aye.
Councilor Crane.
Aye.
Pass.
Okay. So we're moving to item H to follow. So I'd like to open discussion to approve issuance of RFP for professional FAA airport transfer consultant services. Lawrence, do you want to speak to that matter for the council?
Mayor and council, that was one of the actions that we took as the committee to put that RFP together. So we've organized that. We got a lot of help from Julie, thankfully, a real expert. And so we put the right words in there regarding which FAA orders were required to be looked at and complied with. And we've also included advertising. Right now, we're ready to move forward with that advertising. We have to advertise for at least 2 weeks for that RFP. And that's organized for the Albuquerque Journal now. And Julie's working on that, getting that smoothly through the system here to pay for that ad. So any questions about the content? About all I've got to add about that.
Where does this fit in the sequence?
This is the first step after the agreement that you just passed, which is the very beginning, but the next step is to hire an individual who understands this process, who understands the communications with the airport district office, which is in Fort Worth. And we have a point of contact down there that is the director for our airport. And she's been visiting with us several times, so she understands our situation, knows our situation. And so this individual will then be able to follow what the order says and work towards that final application, which can take quite a long time. We have to start over. We aren't able to use what's currently in Colfax County for the airport. We have to start again from the beginning. That's what the FAA requires. And then that whole process of application then has to go up an approval chain all the way to Washington DC headquarters FAA. So that's going to take probably, we're estimating, a year. I mean, this individual well, the one that we want to hire, and it is a competition. So we'll pick an individual that we feel can do that. And it's not a small job. It's a big job.
So it's my understanding that the item we just ratified is due October 25th. And that, is that right, Mr. Manager?
You're on the 15th.
Or 15th? And that document will start to lay out for us what the costs are and what a lot of the issues are here. And it seems to me like that the item we're talking about now is premature until we discuss the return of that document.
Well, I think so the document we just ratified was simply a resolution to commit staff and other resources to the pursuing the transfer. We feel as the committee that the next step in the transfer is now hiring a consultant that understands not intergovernmental transfers, the easy part. It's the FAA compliance and so forth. So by going out to RFP, then we can understand what that step's gonna cost. And that's the big step, the big expense in this process. As Lawrence pointed out, the burden's gonna fall on this person. Now, we'll receive those RFPs. At that time, we'll have a better understanding of what that's gonna cost. And then if we approve an RFP, then the contract negotiation at that point. So to keep things moving, we really don't, there's not any, there's a brain trust on the airport transition committee, quite frankly. And even with all of that experience, some with careers in the FAA, we feel like this is the best next step.
So what's council gonna get after April or October 15th?
Mr.
So
So the way the resolution was designed is that we were going to report back, if you read it, I guess it's not as descriptive maybe. But it says that the village staff and village attorney are to report back to a governing body no later than October 15th on their findings and recommendations. And that's in relation to moving forward on the investigation between the two entities. So it's an initial report that's gonna say, here's the plan that we have to do this, because this is, like I said, this is gonna take are like, it was stated, Mr. Davis said, this is gonna take, a year to complete. And all we put that date in there just to, which is the same date that was on the counties, so that there would be a urgency, to this process, because even though it's gonna take a long time, we need to get going on it now, so it doesn't take 2 years. So basically, we're getting our attorney with their attorney and, our staff with their staff to put together a plan, of bringing together data, quite frankly, because, we're gonna hire the consultant who's gonna say, okay, here's all the data we need. And our staffs, both the counties and the villages, are gonna have to be working together in our legal counsel to supply that data so that a plan can be put together. So that's really the reason that due date was put in there, is to provide a sense of urgency.
So after that happens, when does it come back to council for the next council action?
So, that's a good question. I think that'll be answered as part of the process. I think the committee, the Airport Transfer Committee will be working with the consultants once they're hired. And we'll continue to give the council updates on progress made. I don't have a date on that, but there will come a time when, we'll need further agreements, we'll need to do certain reporting, and those will be points of information to the council, updates to the council.
Okay,
And the committee will continue to work that list of data and with recommendations as to what we need. And we're also gonna get in contact with our point of contact in Fort Worth and find out what she is looking for. So we'll have reports. I can give them to you on a regular basis, if you'd like.
do we have a ballpark idea what this consultant will cost?
No,
No,
we think, one reason we're doing the RFP, we think it's gonna be over 60,000.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, just having spoken to people who have gone through similar things now, they didn't experience the inflation we've experienced in the last few years. Most of these were a decade ago or so that people I've talked to. But in my estimate, it's definitely gonna be over 60,000, probably approaching $100,000 before it's all said and done.
so will there be a time when the council does a go, no-go vote on accepting the airport?
Absolutely, it'll have to happen.
Yeah.
It'll be before we submit to DFA, who ultimately is gonna have final approval. Well, both the FAA and DFA will have final approval. It's government land, so the DFA has to approve that. It's a certified, I don't know, Frazier's gonna yell at me for using the wrong term, but, it's a certified airport. There's a correct term for that. But, and so FAA is gonna have to approve the transfer as well.
Exactly, that's part of the process. They have to approve it.
So if I understand correctly, obviously the resolution on item A, that is committing our staff and legal services. There's gonna be some costs there. That's the first step of our doing due diligence. But without a professional to help us get through this transition, we're not gonna be able to estimate costs and timelines and everything else.
I think that's, again, the first step, and so obviously council will be, the first step, of course, is this RFP. Second would be an approval of or awarding the RFP. Once that person's in place, then hopefully they can give us better idea of what it is gonna cost in full. So there's gonna be multiple steps along the way, with the final one being a vote to transfer, but until we get there, so there'll be plenty of opportunities for council to, be involved.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
any other questions? We had a meeting with the Advanced Air. Dave, would you like to hear a few words about
I
that?
would, yes. I was there yesterday and
Yeah.
they,
Well, by default, we've sort of became knowledgeable of all this, and Fraser, speak up if I say something stupid. It was a quick meeting. Most of the two people that came to visit us are part of the Advanced Air customer service more than anything. So some of our more technical questions, they didn't know all the answers. But, the aircraft, they're King Airs, 350s, they're gonna take a maximum of 6 passengers once a day down to, Albuquerque and then back. And they're gonna run that for 6 days a week during the winter and 5 days a week during the summer. So that was the biggest things I think that we learned. They're planning turnaround of like 30 to 45 minutes on the ground here, load back up and then fly back to Albuquerque. That was most of it. It'll be a non-sterile airport is the terminology they used. And so there won't be any TSA checks done here. Those will be done after you arrive at Albuquerque if you've got connecting flights, for instance. Anything else, Fraser?
No, just, the 6 versus 9 number was due to their concerns about weight and balance and, density altitude issues up at our airport. And they're valid concerns, and I think perhaps just initially that's their thoughts until their pilots get used to flying in and out of here and they'll maybe able to adjust accordingly.
That could change and.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do we know what time of day the flights would be?
We didn't get anything on the time of day. They did say they thought that the first flight was on the 8th of December and another one on the 10th of December. As far as timing, dates of the month go.
Which we're assuming is gonna be the inaugural flights for you guys.
And in case of bad weather and they end up landing in Taos, are we prepared for that?
We asked that question and they're not going to land at Taos. They're going to go back to Santa Fe or Albuquerque, depending on their situation. If it looks like it's gonna clear up in a couple hours, then they'll take off from there and come on and try to complete the flight, that particular day. So we're only talking one airplane going back and forth, so it gives them lots of flexibility and options. So that has nothing to do with this, just so everybody's clear from the transfer of the airport.
Real quick, Elizabeth had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a marketing plan put together to advertise those flights, because I think that's gonna be a big component of its success in use.
We didn't get the feeling that there was a great big plan. We asked them, are they even gonna post signs at the airport? And they did say yes. And they have a website where you can go make reservations, advancedair.com.
Okay.
And there are 2 prices. One's non-refundable and the other one's refundable, which was 8062 was the non-refundable. And I never heard the other one. Did you?
Yeah, it was 100 plus 100.
Plus 100 to that?
For the refundable.
Okay, so that was the prices that we heard, but those are supposedly posted online at advancedair.com.
Once we have more details, Elizabeth, we will, direct some lodgers tax funds, to help promote this. Manager Weir had a question or a statement.
Yeah, a couple of things, real quick, Al. Our tourism department are ready to go as soon as we get the details to start a campaign on advertising. Advanced Air will be doing their advertising of their own, and the county will have some lodgers tax available for advertising for this as well. The county's already planning an inaugural flight. Our intent is to have several people. I didn't realize there was 6 passengers. Maybe they'll let us have 9 fly. So if we don't have any luggage, because the plan is to drive to Albuquerque, fly here. We're gonna have an event here with dignitaries and so on, ribbon cutting, and then fly back to Albuquerque on that flight so we can drive home.
Yeah, if
We're
you don't
gonna
have
drive
any,
down there, fly here, fly back, and drive home.
if you don't have any luggage, extra for it, yeah.
So, yeah, so that is, what the county is planning, and that decision was just made at the county commission meeting today.
Great, thank you.
By the way, you can go online and apply right now.
If there's no further, I'm sorry.
That RFP is scheduled to go out today, after council approval, and it will be posted for 3 weeks in the Albuquerque Journal. We're also looking at a professional publication, but nobody got back to Jeff. So I'm trying to get a professional publication, even if we can post on their website. So it'll be posted.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Howe, if you would make a motion.
I make a motion to approve issuance of RFP for professional FAA airport transfer consultant services.
Second,
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item B. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Councilor Humbert,
Aye.
Councilor Crane,
Aye.
pass.
okay, moving on, to item D. I'd like to open discussion to approve permission. Proceed with workforce housing Title 11 ordinance. I believe Santos Martinez is on, the Zoom call.
I'm sorry for a second.
Is he prepared to present?
There he is.
Santos?
On you. Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Manager Weir. This is an ongoing process that we've looked at with the Workforce Housing Committee to try to move forward on some governance language and some in trying to make this work as to who would be eligible, how people could participate. And so this is a continuation of that we'd like to get consent from council to continue to proceed so we can make the proper advertisements to bring to you for formal votes. Stand for any questions you may have.
Is Santos, this is the MFA template, right, that has been through legal and back and forth now?
Correct. And I think the new process is that we'd like to get some guidance from council to make sure we're still on the right track to proceed so that things can be advertised so that could be formally adopted as a new title within our ordinances as a Title 11. There's been really good conversations at the committee level with workforce housing and trying to flesh this out. And we'd like to consent to continue that conversation moving forward so that we can bring it to you guys for formal action. And if we still need to consider amendments to the text, we can still do that at the council level. But we still need to get these items advertised so that we could properly put it on schedule for council consideration.
This is also, this happened at the county level as well. The only way to get MFA money is for this document to exist with us and at the county level. It's based on a template that was provided and I believe has already gone through legal counsel. So this is just the next logical step in moving forward with what is essentially an MFA ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, it's been approved by the county already. And the template did come from MFA.
So this is a very legal document, so I'm just gonna trust our attorneys.
Should always do that.
That's good advice.
Mayor Pro Tem, if you would make a motion.
I make a motion for action to approve permission to proceed with workforce housing Title 11 ordinance.
Second.
Roll call vote on, I'll call this item C because. Yes, technically. Yeah, okay. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Councilor Humbert,
Aye.
Councilor Crane,
Aye.
pass.
All right, well, moving on then to item D, formerly C. I'd like to open discussion to approve to proceed with changes to the Title 8 ordinance. Mr. Martinez? Back on you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know if you can see it yet. This proposed amendment is to Title 8, which is our building code. That if you can see on the screen, still references the 2003.
Yeah, there's something going, Santos, there's something going on. We can't see it on the screen.
Okay. Interesting.
Giving permission to share.